Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jebediah. In today's episode, it's going to be amazing. Probably the most transformative this boat is going to see from start to finish. And that is because we're doing all the inside, all the floors, all the decking, all the seats. It's going to be amazing. By the time we're done, this thing's going to look completely different. So make sure to stick around to the end for the big reveal. Okay, here's a crazy thing. I've been challenged to do this. If this video, the one you're watching right now, me putting in the HydroTurf and building this boat, if it gets over 1,000 likes, I will buy a mud motor for this thing. 1,000 likes, I'll put a mud motor on. I've went back and forth a few times about how we're gonna lay out the interior of this boat. So I used to have a small seat here in the front, about 8 inches wide. There was a bench in the middle, and then I had like an entire deck built back here with a little cutout for the battery. We've taken out all the seats. We did that last week when we painted. The floor, I didn't paint the floor because I'm not super worried about it. Sorry, I got the hiccups. We did paint the outside, and look at that. Oh, look at that. That looks so good. If you want to know how to paint this yourself, by the way, check out last week's episode. But the basic layout is going to be small deck up front for sitting and casting if you feel courageous enough on this 10-foot boat. Bench back here for the driver. Open floor in the middle. We are going to be putting down the flooring. We got the pièce de résistance, some HydroTurf. Dude, this stuff is so nice. Comes in a bunch of different colors, comes in a bunch of different options. I went with this because look at that, matchy matchy. Once we lay down the plywood, we'll put the HydroTurf on top, and this thing is going to look so good. First thing we did was try to waterproof the wood as best as we can. This is 11/16 plywood, and so I'm actually not worried about the HydroTurf or the floor going bad. I'm only worried about this wood. So to get it as protected as possible, we painted everything. We came back the next day and started measuring and cutting the actual deck sizes. So that took a little bit of time just to make sure that we got everything right and it fit nice and snug. After we got that done, we began framing with aluminum. I just went to Lowe's, got 1-inch box aluminum, and that was perfect for what we needed it to be. You can see here I'm putting in the front deck, and then also going to be working on that rear seat and some supports. Okay, we finally made it to the point that I've been looking forward to the most. We're going to put the HydroTurf onto the flooring here. After we do this floor, we'll do the deck and then the seat and all the other stuff. But what you want to make sure to do is I swept it all off, just to make sure that the surface is clean, get any little bits, if there's anything remaining, off. And then get your HydroTurf. So this has a giant 3M backing. It's essentially a huge sticker. Peel the sticker slowly, and we're going to use the spray adhesive on the deck so that it's doubly secure and won't have any chance of ever coming off. So let's get to it. With the HydroTurf, it's just important to make sure you don't have air bubbles and that you're lining it up good on the first try. So make sure your first line is good as you go to apply it, and then everything else will go a lot smoother from there. Putting on the spray adhesive, working from one side to the next, standing on it, patting it down, getting all the air bubbles out as I go. I'm actually not worried about this ever coming up. I'm only worried about the wood rotting out from underneath it. The front deck, though, was a little bit easier than the floor. I use the factory edge of the HydroTurf as one sides because the HydroTurf is actually cut perfectly square. So it was less work for me to do. And then I'm using a straight edge here to get nice, good, clean cuts so that there's no waves. Probably, though, the most important thing that I actually used during this whole build was that shiny thing underneath me, which is a 1/2-inch insulating foam. The reason it was so important was it gave me a nice flat surface to cut on that wasn't hard, so my blade could actually go into it and I could get a nice clean cut through the HydroTurf. Here you see me again, though. I'm starting with one side as I apply the HydroTurf, working my way to the other, getting all the air bubbles out, and now onto that back seat. The back seat came out perfect, and you can see here as we install the floor that I'm drilling. And don't get worried, I'm not putting holes in the hull, but there's actually horizontal supports that go all the way the length of the boat. The only thing I wish I would have done differently now, as I look back, is I wish I would have taken more time to measure out exactly where all the screw holes go, because I kind of eyeballed it, and there is some variance by a few inches on each one of them, and that's just me being picky, but I wish I would have done that differently. The front, though, the front went in pretty harmlessly. The thing that we did notice as we were putting in the deck and putting in the floor was that the boat, when we took everything out from before, had actually twisted and warped. And so as we went to put the floor in and as we went to put this front deck in and the rear seat in, we had to level everything out because it wasn't square anymore. So just be aware that if you are building a boat from scratch like we are, there's a good chance that all the sides and everything have over time twisted because it's fragile metal. So make sure that you've leveled that all out before you screw it in and tighten it all up. We had some extra HydroTurf though from the build, and so after getting in the rear seat, we had some extra space for that storage area underneath, and then even underneath the seat. We're all done, and it looks sick. It looks better than I thought it was gonna look. Let me show it to you. Big reveal. Look at how cherry that came out, dude. Came out so good. If you want to see me put a mud motor onto this 10-foot John boat and rip some rivers, hit the thumbs up button. 1,000 likes, I will buy a mud motor for this thing and make a video of me probably hurting myself with it. We've done paint, we've done floors and HydroTurf. The next thing is LEDs and electronics. So we're gonna put lights, switches, all this cool stuff. Make sure you don't miss that as we build the ultimate John boat. And finally, a big, big thank you to HydroTurf who did supply all this stuff. If you want your own, go to hydroturf.com. They make the best marine decking out there. This thing is amazing. My kids were playing on it. It's super soft. It's super durable. An absolute game changer for this boat. So one more peek. Look at that. Dude, that looks so good. All right, and now on to LEDs. If you want to see me put the electronics in this and finish out the rest of this build, make sure to hit subscribe so you can follow along. And if you want me to buy a mud motor, give a thumbs up. 1,000 likes, I'll buy a mud motor. All right, see you.